show tight shots, but today look for that camera to zoom in on the defendant's reaction when these verdicts are read.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. We appreciate that. I want to remind our viewers it's 4 o'clock now. This is the time in which we were told the verdict would come in from this jury. We're going to show you very live images from all around the Twin Cities, but primarily you'll see that symbol there, that iconic seal there. That is inside the courtroom. I want to make sure you understand that. And then we have Skyfox 9 up in the air as well. We have a camera at 38th in Chicago, and of course we have a ground camera there outside the Hennepin County Courthouse there on the plaza scene. And we are watching what happens very closely once that verdict is read. Again, the charges against Derek Chauvin, this jury considers all of them or none of them. They can come back with a partial verdict in terms of the charges, second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. They could deem him guilty on all charges or innocent on all charges, not guilty, and those are what we're watching for right now, the combination. We do know that there's a unanimous verdict in this because they came back with that, and the court has on record with the verdict, so we know at least that is what's happening here in the next few minutes.
And Randy, you know, policing, a verdict aside, this really has the potential to change policing in the country. And I wanted to bring in Mike Bryant one more time and lean on him in what could be the last few moments we have here before the verdict is read. Mike, I think back to Dr. Martin Tobin specifically and his testimony. Do you think that, verdict aside, that the testimony given during this trial could have the potential to change the way that police, the use of force specifically?
Potentially. It's interesting because you had a number of police officers that testified this isn't the way we do it anyway. So the question is, you know, what was the training issue early that some say it isn't how we do it, and then, you know, we never heard from the defendant, which is his right under the Constitution, but he did it this way, and there's other examples of it being done. I think they brought up some examples when there's been testimony contrary by one of the experts. But you know, it's another thing to look at, and you know, with what continues to happen across the country, those are all things that need to be looked at. You know, as far as training goes, we need to make sure that training's done properly, and then we have, you know, people who have the abilities to do what they're doing it.
Mike, I want to ask you about this jury, and try and put yourself as our legal analyst in the eyes of this jury. They had those 3 charges, and as I mentioned just a short time ago, they have to consider all 3 when they make their decision on something like this. You watched this trial unfold. You watched the key points of this trial. You saw the defense's objective and their game plan, as well as the state's objectives and game plan. If you're a jury sitting there yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what was the first thing that sort of is the bellwether moment in that trial for a juror?
Well, there were a couple things that I think you could point to. As a group, we know that they were a group that tended to not get into the news or not follow the news on what was happening in this case anyway, because they wouldn't be on the jury if they were deep into it. Second is, we know when they were brought back on that Monday, and a group of them came back and they said they heard something and they turned it off right away. So as a group, they stayed away from everything, or as much as they could on this case. And then suddenly, boom, they got weeks of the videos over and over again, and the experts over and over again, and people talking over again. So they got a lot of, for people that originally turned away from it, a lot of information along those lines. For me, big points that came up in the trial were when we saw George Floyd inside Cup Foods. We got to see him alive. You know, you don't normally experience that you get a chance to see somebody who the case is involving a dead person, but you get to see a bunch about him when he's alive that just is minutes before he dies. The point when they heard the defendant talk to Mr. Williams on that tape, you know, that was an opportunity for them to hear him at the scene right after it's happened and make some determinations on what that felt. I wonder what effect it had on.
All right, I want to take you now inside the courtroom. As you can see there, Judge Peter Cahill has taken his seat at the bench. We can assume the jury is in as well, since our court camera is now focused on the judge.
This is Derek
It's
Michael Chauvin,
moments away
defendant.
now from that verdict being read.
Count one.
Let's just stop and
Court
listen
file
to
number
see what the
27,
judge...
CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count one, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count two. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count two, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count three. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count three, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts, so say you one, so say you all?
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join you in a few minutes to answer questions and to advise you further. So, all rise for the jury. Be seated. With the guilty verdicts returned, we're going to have Blakely, you may file a written argument as to Blakely factors within 1 week. The court will issue findings on the Blakely factors, the factual findings, 1 week after that. We'll order a PSI immediately returnable in 4 weeks. And we will also have a briefing on, after you get the PSI, 6 weeks from now, and then 8 weeks from now, we will have sentencing. We'll get you the exact dates in a scheduling order. Is there a motion on behalf of the state?
Your Honor, the state would move to have the court revoke the defendant's bail and remand him into custody pending sentencing.
Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Hennepin County Sheriff. Anything further?
All
right. Thank you. We're adjourned.
So, counsel, Gates, I can send you to